Hey guys, MrPokke here, back with another video, and right now we're gonna be taking a look at Sien's opinion on technically not the selector choice, but what are the roles of your standard S rank agents that you're gonna be getting when you finish your first 50 beginner banner. Alright, so without further ado, let's get into today's content. Subscribe! Alright, so which of these units have their different roles and different functions? Very poggers, right? We're only going to be focusing on Grace, Koleda, Lycaon, Nekomata, as well as Rina, Soldier 11. So these are pretty much going to be units ELDR. If you're going to be going for a meta unit, a meta team comp specifically, then Lycaon is going to be the rank 1 pick because he is going to be our strongest breaker, right? He is going to be our strongest impact damage dealer. He's going to be our strongest dazer in the team. If you're going to be pulling for Ellen, which is technically our strongest tier 0 DPS we have in the moment, then Lycaon is going to be the perfect teammate with Ellen. They are both Ice Faction and they are both Victoria Housekeeping, so they can trigger each other's buffs. So you can see from the core over here, when another character in your squad shares the same attribute or faction, we get the additional stun damage multiplier, right? So that's going to be there. And then Ellen's additional ability, they can also function with Lycaon because they're both Ice and they're both Victoria Housekeeping. So very good. So this is pretty much going to be the best option if you're going for the tier 0 meta team. That is going to be Lycaon. Specifically why it does all that, we're going to save it for next time, but this is basically the first option, right? If you are not able to get Lycaon, which is to say, if you, because we are not talking about the selector, right? We're just talking about which 5 stars you get. If you did not get Lycaon and if you got either Soldier 11 or Nekomata, they are both great. That is going to be pretty much the next best option when it comes to building up your team comps, because they are a S rank agent that can act as a main DPS. Right now, comparatively speaking, if you take a look at our attack agents, these are pretty much our only agents. Aside from Ellen, Nekomata and Soldier 11 will pretty much be the next best slot compared to Anton, Billy, and Corinne. Because this is pretty much all we have. Right? We have to wait for it to come out, so you guys can chill if you're gonna wait for another main DPS. But if you do manage to get Soldier 11 or Nekomata, you can basically form a team around both of these units, right? For Soldier 11, she's gonna be our fire DPS, which pretty much acts like Riven. She does her normal basic attack, is basically physical damage. But if we were to attack at the right moment, it enhances the physical damage into fire damage. It's kind of like Riven's sword, what is broken can be reforged. So that's gonna when she deals big PP damage, especially when you activate this additional fire damage. So that is gonna be Soldier 11. Very good for boss combats, very good for AoE mobs. Pretty much a very solid DPS overall if you are not gonna be getting Ellen. So that's gonna be great. If you are not able to get Soldier 11, then Nekomata is the other option. She is a physical element, sort of like a aesthetic kind of thing, which kind of specializes on AoE content. For both her skill as well as her ultimate is where she hits a very wide area and targets all of the enemies within the same area. So she is a little bit more focused for AoE content. Yeah, if you manage to get Nekomata, you can manage it's gonna be another physical DPS. Very good, very poggers. Pretty much the alternative to Soldier 11, you can basically make her as your main DPS. You form a team around her, build up a dazer, build up a support, build up a buffer, debuffer, all that kind of stuff. And normally, oh my god, I didn't remember a normally support or defense with Nekomata plus a dazer, and you're gonna be good to go. Right? So both Soldier and 11 and Nekomata is roughly around the same spot, if I can say to myself. They're basically damage dealers. Koleda is somewhat like Lycaon in a sense where she's a stun. Right, she's basically there for you to deal daze damage to the enemies, and you will definitely be using her if you don't have Lycaon, because stun units, they are honestly all very valuable. The problem with Koleda is right now we don't really have a good pairing. Technically, you can pair her with Soldier 11, because if you take a look at Soldier 11's core right here, if they share the same attribute of faction as Soldier 11, will deal 10% more fire damage, and if it's stun, it will additionally deal 22.5% more fire damage. So you can in fact run Koleda plus Soldier 11, but that is assuming that you actually get both S rank agents, which some may say it might not be as relatable, right? Because if you take a look at your A rank units, you basically have Lucy, which is gonna be our support, and Ben, which is gonna be our defense. That is pretty much all there is to it. Ben and Koleda, they have a very interesting special interaction. So what happens for Koleda is if you were to use her with Ben, Ben specifically, when Koleda and Ben are both in your squad and this skill is activated by after an enhanced base attack, they will team up to launch a coordinated attack, further increasing the power of the skill. Anti-interrupt level increase. So she is one of the only units that we have in the game that has a special interaction with a specific unit. Which means that if you're gonna be able to get Koleda, running her with Ben is gonna be very, very good. Because Ben is also from Bellerbog, he's also fire, he's also gonna be a defense. So Koleda, Ben, then you just slot in another DPS and you're pretty much gonna be good to go, right? So that's gonna be that for Koleda. And then the remaining S rank is gonna be pretty much Grace and Rina, which are our two giant abobas. So Grace's main usage is gonna be our electric debuff. The shock damage the enemy suffers increases by 25%, stacks up to 2 times. Shock is basically the anomaly you're applying when you attack an enemy with an electric element. So Grace is able to amplify this damage by up to 50%, which is why she is going to be dealing a lot of good amounts of shock damage if you're going to be going the shock route, right? She also has this, when using a special attack, will consume all stacks of Zap and increase accumulated electric anomaly build up by 65%, which means that you will build up shock much quicker if you're going to be running Grace. Different enemies in Wuthering Waves, they also have different weaknesses to respective anomalies. So there's going to be like your fire anomalies, there's going to be your freeze, right? There's going to be your shock. Max specifically, they are very, very weak to shock. So Grace is a excellent unit that can apply the shock anomaly and deal with mech units very, very easily, right? So that's gonna be Grace. And Rina, she is kind of like Encore if you guys play Wuthering Waves, where she has 2 summons and she's like a ranged attacker that will also deal electric damage, pretty much. Grace attack patterns is a little bit draggier compared to our other units that we have seen in Zenless Zone Zero. But that being said, you can definitely make use of a pattern, especially this, right? When we order Drusilla or Anastella, which is basically the summons to attack, other squad members' pen ratio increase together with Rina by 8 plus 25% of pen ratio. So this is applied to your entire team. So she's actually a very, very decent support that is pretty much universal because of the ability to raise up our entire team's pen ratio. Pen ratio in Zenless Zone Zero is pretty much your defense penetration. It is exactly the same how much defense you're going to be able to ignore. So she is quite universal in that regard. If you are going to be using Rina with same Victoria, Housekeeping, or Electric, then you are also able to increase your electric damage. So you could run Grace with Rina together because they are both electric element, right? So this is just gonna amplify our electric damage a little bit more. So, but this is gonna be her main thing. The ability to raise our entire team's pen ratio is gonna be Rina's bread and butter, if I can say so myself, right? So that's gonna be that. Did we cover everything? I think we did, right? So ELDR in summary, Lycaon, the wolf guy, is gonna be the strongest meta pick if you're going to be gunning for Ellen, which is going to be our tier 0 DPS as of the release of Zenless Zone Zero. So Ellen, Lycaon, slap on a Sokaku, that is pretty much our tier 0 team, right? If you are able to get either Nekomata or Soldier 11, they can be built as your main DPS, and then you can kind of just build your team around Soldier 11 or Nekomata. Koleda is kind of basically like another Daze stun user, which deals very, very good impact damage, and then you do kind of want to pair up with Ben so that we can use the coordinated special abilities that Koleda has exclusively, right? So that's going to be that. And then for our last slots, that's going to be our Grace and Rina. Grace is kind of like a pretty much a more niche role, specifically to build up electric damage against the enemies. And then Rina is kind of like a little bit more of a universal support because of the ability to raise up our entire team's pen ratio, right? Essentially, there isn't really like a very bad unit per se, unlike Ling Yang. All of these units, they are all very, very usable. They all have their strengths, they all have their synergies with one another, and they can all definitely make a very good team if you're going to be playing in Zenless Zone Zero. For Ellen and Zhu Yuan, I will be taking a look into another video as to which unit should we put. The CM putting opinions for Ellen and Zhu Yuan. So stay tuned to that, and we are going to be releasing Ellen's unit guide very, very soon, coming near you. So that is pretty much all I have for today. What your best 5-star standard S rank? I'm going to stop saying 5-star. Best S rank agent insane. This is everything, right? So leave comments down below or join the Discord, discord.g4. We have a very active community about Honkai on a daily basis. And Zenless Zone Zero on a daily basis on stream. There's twitch.tv/MrPokke and youtube.com/MrPokke. All the best for your Ellen pools. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care.